Well, we got more of a shit show today. So much of a shit show that we had to bring on another person. Joining us today is the co-host of the All Too Real 2 podcast and a filmmaker out of Toledo, Ohio. Please welcome to the spoiler alert, Michael E. Cullen II.
Hello, everybody.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm as you said, a podcaster. I host a kind of pop culture based podcast show called All Too Real 2 with my co-host Matthew Haas, and which Ryan's been on before. Also, I've directed 2 feature films and hopefully more in the future, Shelved and Pi Day Die Day. So,
all right. So, as we know, Warner Brothers Discovery has been making some
Wait a second.
moves.
Wait a second.
Go ahead.
I think we also have to mention that Michael has excellent Facebook posts as well. We have to put that in there. Not to like tear the carpet out from underneath your intro, but
yeah.
very, very important.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah.
In fact, it was his Facebook post that caused me to do the last quick thoughts.
See,
Yeah.
I rest my case. It was
There
worth the
you
interruption. Yep.
Exactly. So Dustin texts me right after I upload the first one, like, we gotta do another one. I'm like, and I'm reading further into this, and it's like, yep, we definitely gotta do another one. And I was like, we need a ringer. So Michael E. Cullen, from your perspective, imagine you were the one directing Batgirl, and you find out that your film is getting shelved as a tax write-off. How would you feel in this situation?
I would never talk to Warner Brothers again in my life. Unless they offered me a buttload of money. And an apology. Because that's just ridiculous. I feel really bad for those guys. I mean, they did a great job on Miss Marvel. I never saw Bad Boys for Life, so I can't, say how that was or not. But they seem like great guys. I just watched the behind the scenes thing that Disney Plus released, ironically, like the same time as this was announced, about the making of Miss Marvel, and they seemed like really fun guys on there. So yeah, that can't be hitting them well. It can't be hitting the actors involved well either. And I don't know if any of them would want to work with Warner Brothers Discovery again on any projects. So
exactly. And that's what we're coming into. It's like, this is what I meant when on my Doctor Strange podcast, I talked about the contentification of entertainment.
Yes.
Where anymore you feel like you're not watching a movie and a TV show. Because there used to be a clear difference as to what a movie and a TV show is. Nowadays, it's all running together. And we get excited over, say, Top Gun Maverick or Everything Everywhere All at Once that uses actual practical effects versus all these shows that are being shot on green screen and shit with huge budgets.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think anytime you can use practical over CG would be preferable in my mind. I mean, obviously, the types of movies I make, you can't really use much CG because of the budget, but you need that middle of the road type of movie too. That's not going to be a real indie, and it's not going to be something that's like, Doctor Strange level, special effects and stuff, because, that's just disappeared now in Hollywood in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally gone, and streaming places were a good place for that to go, and now it just seems like this is just going to give another one less outlet for that to happen to.
Yeah, and one of my favorite film of the year so far is a medium budget movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
It is frustrating, but you know what, to be honest with you, like, if you go back and listen to part 1 of this discussion, I'm like, the whole time I'm sort of like half dumbfounded, half like, but Ryan, why happened? Like I had no idea what's going on. And I was kind of angry about it or whatever, but now I feel like we're a day or two removed. I'm feeling I'm feeling conflicted, guys, because
Yeah.
I'm starting to read things from trustworthy outlets like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety. I'm hearing things you know, on Ryan's best friend John Campia's show. You know, and so I'm taking in all this information, and some of it makes sense, right? Like I was kind of pumped for Batgirl, but at the same time, it didn't make sense to me. Like, wait a minute. So they're doing this on HBO Max, so we're gonna get these cool, like, kind of B movie flavor, budget capped films, and I was kind of excited for that. But at the same time, then they're like, no, 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 we're gonna go now. We're gonna do theatrical, and then the test screenings were kind of like sort of bland a little bit, and they spent 90 million. I'm like really conflicted because if they're, first of all, number one, I did hear that the filmmakers were actually at a wedding when they got the news that
Yes.
the thing was going to be shit on,
Yeah.
like, you know, whatever. So that really sucks. Number one, I'm like with the filmmakers for sure, and the actors, the writers, everybody. That fucking blows, right?
Yeah.
I hope they all got paid and the checks are cashed, whatever. But still, really, really sucks.
And
Could have
then
been
they
a better way to do it, but
and
on
then
the-
they have and then you have a Dylan Bilal and Leslie Grace putting out their little PR controlled statements when you could tell everyone involved's pissed.
yeah, of course.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, right? We've been struggling not just with the DCEU, but with almost all pop culture products. I hate to call them products, but let's just call them products for a
But they
second.
are.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
just call a spade a spade.
Right, coming out of Warner Bros. Right, so like, if in the long run, this gets us a more concise 10-year plan, DCEU, and then also a bunch of cool spin-off stuff like shows and movies that make sense, then fuck, man, I'm kind of all for it in a way. And hopefully they make it right by doing something with that Batgirl character and whatever. But it was kind of like open season at Warner Brothers. If you had an idea and you were halfway somebody, they'd let you make at least a HBO Max fucking 8-part series about it, right? Like, and that was kind of, I mean, it's kind of exciting for like a minute, and then now post Snyder, it's kind of like a nightmare. You know what I mean? So that's how
I mean,
feel
their
about it.
main problem from the beginning is that they didn't have a cohesive, like, Kevin Feige type person to control
Sure.
everything,
Yeah.
and make sure that we're getting good content. I mean, it's the same type of thing that, in my opinion, happened with Star Wars, where, you know, Kathleen Kennedy's not the right person to be the voice of Star Wars. I mean, I have nothing against the lady. I think she's a great producer, but
Sure.
she's not the best creative voice for that, in my opinion. And bringing like Favreau and others in there to mix things up made sense. But you never had anybody like that in the beginning with DC, and it kind of, I mean, they were doing great TV over on the CW, in my opinion, for a while, until it started getting kind of, you know, just, you know, Monster of the Week sort of like same thing over and over.
Exactly.
But you also have you know, I mean, I don't know if Snyder was the right guy to do that either. And then you had like the tragedy of his daughter and other things too that kind of, you know, put a kink in that. But I don't see why they couldn't sometime, even if it's years from now, release Batgirl as a like Elseworlds sort of kind of movie that has no connection to anything, because we're not, I don't think they're going to be able to fully go. They will with some of their product, but fully go with like what the MCU has done, where it's all cohesive, because you've got outliers like Joker that have nothing to do with, you know, anything that did well at the box office.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then you have Zaslav announcing the 10-year plan for DC, bringing in Alan Horn. But the one key thing I did like that came from him was he said he was, quote, focusing on quality over quantity.
Yeah. And that's good.
I'm excited about that, because when you look at the MCU slate right now, you got to watch like 5 TV shows, 4 movies, all of varying quality.
Yeah. And it still doesn't make sense. I mean, like, there's some whatever, and I'm gonna let me like do my controversial statement for the episode. Okay, this is gonna be my controversial statement, right? I'm gonna throw my my fake Monopoly money $5 bill down and say I'm betting this right now that we are going to hear that they are going to cancel the Flash movie.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if they do or radically alter it.
Yeah, I think they're gonna cancel it.
He brought up Zaslav brought up the Flash though in his statement today.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes me think they're not going to cancel it. But I mean, they need to address the Ezra Miller,
Right.
issue somehow.
Yeah.
Because
The
there's no way they can
addressed.
continue. They can't continue that franchise at all.
No.
Having them in the product in the future with all of the crazy stuff that they're doing lately, it's not a good look at all for anybody, especially when you cancel something that is primarily people of color and female led.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're and you're
one thing I should have brought up was the House Party reboot that had LeBron James as a producer. That got scrapped.
Thank God.
And you wonder why. And you wonder why Ray Fisher has been bringing all this shit up. But at the same time, he made an extremely tone-deaf statement on Twitter demanding an apology from Walter Hamada when people of color, a trans woman, and Muslim directors lost their fucking movie.
Yeah. It's interesting too, though. I mean, also, on a lesser note, like it's not like something I watched or anything, but like and she's got her own issues. You've got that Ellen DeGeneres animated show got canceled too.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a good look for, like for a lesbian led show and everything.
And even then, wasn't Ellen already canceled as it was?
Her show's over and she was really walking the line of
her show was, but her animated show, I guess they had already filmed that because it's like this Little Ellen show that's on HBO Max.
Right.
Yeah.
They canceled that, and I guess the season was completed and they're not going to air it.
Yeah.
See, and that's why, even though first of all, I didn't, and I should have, but I didn't read the statement from Zaslav today, so you guys can fill me in as to like what that says. But I still think they're going to axe the Flash, because if they're doing what Michael just said and like just shelving an entire season of someone's shit because it doesn't meet their standard or whatever the hell, they don't want to pay to market it, and they're gonna totally shelve a Batgirl film no matter what, like, to me that just says they haven't made the hard decision yet, and that some of these decisions were probably sat on for a while and thought about, because if this were old HBO Max, they just desperately wanted content so badly. So they would have shown the Ellen DeGeneres thing. That Batgirl thing would have got pushed forward. Like, we're not in that. We're clearly in a different time, and this guy does not give a fuck. And so for that reason, I think Flash is gone. I think Blue Beetle's gone. I think Black Adam is safe.
Black Adam and Aquaman are definitely safe.
Yeah, but if Aquaman doesn't perform, that's totally cut too.
I mean, the only thing I could see with the Flash is that it's actually part of their plan for their 10-year plan.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Where they might have no choice but to release it. I mean, I don't want, Ezra Miller getting any money in their pocket, but I kind of want to see the movie, but I don't want to pay for it. But, so I want to wait till it's on HBO Max and watch it. But it's still, it could like be a linchpin to their plan.
Or maybe this is what we're witnessing is just the beginning of them dissecting and creating a new plan. Because if you got rid of Batgirl, which also featured Michael Keaton, right? You got apparently Affleck coming back to fill Keaton's scenes because of all that mix up, right? In Aquaman or whatever they're doing, right? So there's that. If all of these things are being done, and they keep citing making, saving money, right? I did see a report that by culling all of this stuff, they're saving $3 billion a year, right? And it has something to do with taxes, right? So if he's got a $250 million Flash movie, and in normal times it would cost $150 million to market it already, and you don't know if because of Ezra Miller's fucking horse shit, right? You don't know how that's going to affect audiences, and it's a big question mark as to the quality. Man, that's more and more target. That's more in the pro column for me. I mean, you just by canceling it, you already save 150 million, right? Just on the marketing. So I just think that Blue Beetle, Flash, I think all of those things are gone. All of them. I think the only things that are truly safe are Black Adam, Aquaman, the Batman 2, obviously the Joker sequel, and that's it right now.
Yeah. And note that they announced the Joker 2 announcement when all this shit was going down. To quote another Warner Brothers property, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Right. Don't panic, everybody. Here's a fucking animated teaser trailer GIF thing, right?
Exactly.
I think the thing I'm wondering too with the HBO Max of it all too is like, I adore the show Hacks.
Yeah.
And that's an HBO Max exclusive, and it's nominated for a bunch of Emmys and stuff too. So I'm just wondering because it seems like they're maybe not going to make original content and just like air their shows like Barry and stuff that are on HBO proper.
Yeah, that segs my next point though, Michael.
Yeah.
70% of HBO Max's staff is going to be laid off.
Yeah.
So we gotta pay attention to like the Doom Patrols and the Hacks. Those shows could very well be on the chopping block, and both of those shows are really good.
Yeah.
And then you got Chip and Joanna Gaines going to HBO Max as of September, doing some castle remodeling show.
And then all their stuff, a bunch of their shows from Magnolia Network.
Right.
And then
but then next in like a year from now, we've got the combination of the two streaming services.
Yeah.
That's a year away.
Yeah.
Summer 2023.
Jesus Christ, just do it in December. What the hell, guys?
Yeah. Exactly. And
my thing
the other thing
why
too,
can't you do it when you're doing the Magnolia stuff? Like why do that then if you're going to do all of it later? Why do some of it now?
Well, and I'm sure that's a great fucking point. I totally agree. And also too, I'm sure Ryan might even have this as something he wants to bring up, but we're all sort of hitting on it, right? It's a larger point. Like Netflix, boom, like, oh my God, Netflix has spent more than they're worth on original content. Those guys are crazy, and it's fucking shows every other day. And oh my God, like 2 years ago, just before the pandemic, it was like wild times. Anybody could get a show at Netflix, right? Like, and so we saw how that panned out, right? Fucking the last 6 months for Netflix hasn't been great at all. And every other streaming service has kind of suffered. The ones that have not, Disney, even more so Apple, because they're like taking their fucking time, putting out one show every fucking 9 months or whatever their thing is, but they're really high quality. They tell a story from start to finish. And I think, to be honest, that gets away from the TikTokification or the contentification, like you said, of all the bullshit, because they're losing money that way. But I think people are slowly going to that sort of Apple content stratery where it's like, we're going to put
also let's keep in mind one major thing. Let's keep in mind one major thing. Apple has 3 Oscars.
Right. But I'm just saying,
I'm going to your point. They're focusing on quality.
But for a hot minute, it was like Netflix, HBO Max, Disney, I don't know, maybe like fucking Showtime for a second, right? They were all like, fuck you, no, well, we'll just go buy the Food Network. Okay, well, we'll buy Discovery. It was like crazy. Like, we need content. And then when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like, okay, everyone's trapped inside. We really do need content. But now that's not really as strong of a thing. People are racing back out to theaters. All of a sudden, it looks like that 45-day window is kind of we should probably make this more like 65 days to make more money. So like all of these huge bad decisions that seemed like they were good, spending more than you're worth on content, right? They're starting to hit the skids. And so with HBO Max culling and Apple looking fine as hell, right? With what they're doing, the Oscars and the more controlled, slow and controlled, I think that's where we're headed. And I guess I would ask you guys, like, is that such a bad thing?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, quality is better than quantity by any means, in my opinion. But I just worry with speaking of quality is, I mean, I have nothing against people that enjoy, and I watch sometimes the stuff on like HGTV and all that stuff, but that coming over to whatever the new streaming thing will be, that's not really necessarily quality product.
Exactly.
I mean, because between HBO Max and like HBO Max and Discovery Plus, there's like 155 Emmy nominations between the two of them.
Yeah.
And only like 15 of them are over on HGTV and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I've, been in that relationship where it's like you just kind of put it on where you're both like doing the laptops in bed thing, or like it's on in the background, or like, I chat with my mom sometimes about like love it or list it. Right. So it is that kind of not garbage content. It's just filler. Yeah. And I think you're right.
It's background noise.
Sure. It's a lot of filler. And sometimes you watch them like, wow, did Jerry really fucking take that house over this one? What an idiot, right? So we have those moments and whatever, and you're right. I think they're really gunning for the Magnolia stuff, and the HGTV stuff is all like bonus round, right? A little content, little filler. But I just wonder where we'll be 5 years from now. So let's say everybody dials it back, and they just do quality, and they get big actors and big writers and big stories and big fucking subscribers. Then what? Because it always escalates in some way. But if they've learned their lesson of, too much decadence, we can't have, 50 animated series about dragons and, like whatever. Like if we've gone through all that, then what's the next phase of this? What does that look like?
It could be a really good thing, in my opinion, but also, they're going to have to mend a lot of fences though after canceling these shows and movies. Because you're basically pulling the rug out from under these people who spent months or years on these projects. And just being like, well, sorry, your stuff's never going to see the light of day. And I know as an artist, like you asked me at the beginning, it's like I would hate that if something I worked on that I thought was good never saw the light of day in one way or another. And I know that, actors and directors and grips and other people like that too, are wanting their work to be seen. So it's just hard.
Yeah. And that goes to the next point. We have HBO Max quietly removing HBO Max original films, Seth Rogen's An American Pickle, The Witches 2020, and then Charm City Kings, in which that director is directing the Blue Beetle movie. But you can buy them, unlike your Voodoos and your Fandangos.
They're probably seeing it as a way that they could actually make more money off of them than giving them to people for free that pay for the service.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
One of the movies they removed just came out like a couple months ago. It was like Moonshot
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that he's like, yo, if I'm taking this thing over, I want to get rid of the fucking garbage. And these are not, if people want to buy them and they want to make money that way, put them there. But I don't want it on my table because it makes it look gaudy, kind of a thing. That's sort of what this is the vibe I get.
Well, I mean, I the only one of those that Ryan's mentioned that I've seen is American Pickle, and I didn't think it was horrible. So I don't know, but it's not like good
Yeah.
either.
But at the same time, though,
Yeah.
earlier this year, HBO Max put out The Fallout and Kimmy, both really good movies that I would have loved to have seen theatrically.
Yeah. Are those still on there, or did they take those?
Yeah, they're still on there as far as I know. And this is why I'm such an advocate for physical media. Like, I want to be able to own something in the event, say, a server crashes. Like, look at the case with Stranger Things right now. The Duffer Brothers are going back in editing scenes in seasons 1 and 2, whereas I have the Blu-rays of Stranger Things 1 and 2.
I think they've come out and said that they're not going to do that now.
What they were gonna pull a George Lucas.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
God.
were pulling a George Lucas.
What, to like put Vecna in the bushes or something?
No, to like alter minor details in the background.
Oh God, it's even worse. Like, what the
I
fuck?
think they were just doing things for like continuity purposes.
Yeah.
But I think they've come out, like, I remember reading an article a day or two ago that said something that they decided that they're not going to.
Good decision.
Yeah.
Jesus
Mhm.
Christ.
But
And there's one huge elephant in the room. Zaslav is a Trump supporter. In 2017, he did an interview with Neil Cavuto where he says, and I quote, "The idea of a Republican Congress, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president is a good thing."
That's unfortunate.
yeah, I looked up his contribution history. He has however also donated to a lot of Democratic candidates.
Yeah.
Republicans too. So but
Yeah.
a lot of people and companies do that.
Also in that same interview, he was saying something about protect the earth and how it's not a political issue. I wanted to address that too. But it's just kind of peculiar that you have Batgirl in the House Party reboot and then Ray Fisher's situation being completely swept under the rug. And yeah of course that was pre-Zaslav, but still.
I mean, he could have came out and said something when they took over too, and in support of Fisher. Yeah.
Right. I mean, as far as the House Party reboot, like, do we got to mess with the classic? I mean, I don't like LeBron James because he's a dick, so I don't want him to be successful in anything.
I don't either.
I'm a huge Bulls fan, so like, no, right? Like, I hate LeBron, but like, I don't know. I mean, every time I think of LeBron and showbiz, I think Space Jam, and that just makes me want to fucking vomit everywhere.
Which is Warner Brothers as well. So.
Exactly. So, if they were gonna let him, hack up fucking House Party, was anybody from the original coming back?
Jesus Christ, you gotta unlock him in multiverses. He's a playable character on multiverses. Warner Brothers is stupid. Smash Brothers.
That's so bad.
I'm like, are you serious right now?
I don't understand. I mean, I mean, maybe there was a audience for it, but I mean, House Party was a classic, and then it had all the like diminishing returns of sequels that they had.
Yeah.
But is there really a audience out there for that today? I mean, the people that grew up watching it are, in their 30s and 40s, and it's not like we're all
they could probably bring in somebody like Little Yachty or
I guess you could pull in a
Little Baby
with that.
You could.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. Like,
no, I think it depends on how you do it, but I don't think LeBron James is ready to be like hands-on producer fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even get it straight.
What was it? I mean, it could have just been in money only too, so
that's true. Yeah, we don't really know. But I mean, I'd rather them do it like all in with the original people, and same way we have all the reboots for all the other stuff. And so, why not go over the top of the House Party reboot and whatever? But if they hacked it, if they killed it, then obviously the script didn't look good and there was too much money being spent on it. I love that. I mean, Zaslav being a Trump supporter, that fucking sucks. It really does when you find out, somebody you think might have a shot at doing something good is an idiot, right? So, and that sucks. But I do have to say, like, he spanked JJ Abrams. Like, sorry, like the checks aren't coming anymore. We're not doing this. Like, he has made a couple moves outside this Batgirl thing. That I don't know. I think that are for the better. I'm conflicted. I'm really conflicted, to be honest.
I don't think Zaslav is doing a bad job per se. It's just that you had excitement for Batgirl, and then that went out the window when you shelved it.
Yeah,
You were taking away money from people who worked their asses off on this: actors, cast, crew, writers,
right.
filmmakers.
Yeah, I mean, it does make me a little nervous for the fucking Penguin Batman spinoff show and shit a little bit. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine because it's Colin Farrell.
It's Colin Farrell.
Matt Reeves' IP and all that, but I just feel like it. You know, we heard about Gotham PD, and then that's not a thing, and then we heard about an Arkham Asylum thing, and then that doesn't look like that's going to be a thing. Maybe,
and it looks like that new CW show that was going to be that Gotham. What was that? The
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights is like not going to happen now too.
Well, you know what? That's a miracle. That
I mean, it looked horrible.
It looks so bad.
But what I'm saying is, it's just interesting how they're just like. But I read an article earlier that I wanted to bring up to you guys too, Warner Brothers related too, is that in an article from Rolling Stone, Leslie Iwerks, who's a documentary filmmaker who made the Imagineering story and the Pixar story, is doing a documentary about DC, about the history of DC.
I saw that,
and she wanted to include some footage from Snyder's Justice League, but the studio basically told her it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and that's fucking stupid, especially given the sizzle reel they released earlier. Shazam and the Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer features clips from Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah,
but wait a minute. Why would they do that?
Because they're fucking Warner Brothers. They're the Cleveland Browns of movie studios.
Right, but why would they say it doesn't exist? It's clearly on HBO Max.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just
to the executives. We're just talking over each other.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
To the executives, Justice League is canon because that's what they wanted. They wanted the lighthearted Richard Lester Superman. They wanted the Avengers, but without the effort of the Avengers. And here you had Zack Snyder doing what ended up being the great version of Justice League, and y'all threw that aside just to have Ray Fisher say "booyah" in the most Harrison Ford fucking Blade Runner narration ever tone of voice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't get it.
Yeah, a lot of these moves that they make are like, to say they're perplexing is putting it fucking mildly.
Yeah.
I almost think like how much of that is like strategic, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of it is, because Hamada's probably on the chopping block with Zaslav, because
I mean,
they haven't.
I mean, just what's the just overall, right? Like ultimately, like, and maybe we should go around and ask the three of us separately, like, what's Zaslav's play here with the DCEU, at least, you know?
Yeah.
Ultimately,
what's the end game?
Exactly. No pun intended.
Because I can see one of two things happen here. Either A, Zaslav does in fact restore the Snyderverse, or B, they just straight up reboot and create a whole new DCEU, and more than likely probably bring Matt Reeves into it.
Oh God, please don't. Please let.
I'm hoping that's not B.
Let's just he can let him do his own thing over there, like forever. Don't ever cross those streams, please.
Exactly, because I love the Batman. I'm not putting it on my favorite films list. It'll be an honorable mention.
Okay, listen, I've got a bunch of tomatoes I'm gonna fire off at you. Like, that's not cool. How could the Batman not be on your favorite films list of 2022?
Toxic fandom, because I said in my favorite films list of 2021 that going forward, a comic book movie must be a 5-star film. 4.5 for an honorable mention.
Oh God, I'm gonna tear my hair out.
Yeah. Yeah, blame the toxic Snyder fans who felt the need to attack me during my grandpa's funeral for that.
No, I understand that, but you should put it on there just to fucking spite them.
Yeah. Right.
You guys are probably
Seriously.
gonna hate me,
Yeah.
but I mean, I liked the Batman, but it's nowhere near my top of favorite Batman movies. It's
Yeah.
I'm a huge Batman fan. I mean, I have like
We all are.
Batman stuff, yeah, and everything. So it's like, I don't know. It was good. It was just not. There was something missing for me. I don't know what it was, but it just seemed like it just didn't give me the punch that I needed.
So who's your favorite Batman? Who's the actual person? Like who's your Batman?
That's the thing. I don't really have a Batman.
Okay,
Well,
what's the favorite movie?
My favorite movie is probably 89 Batman of the Batman movies, but I really do like the Nolan verse. So
That's respectable.
yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, and I mean, I think each Batman brought something to the role.
Yeah,
including Pattinson, that I think made the character their own and made it, well, just like every James Bond brings a good, something to the role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not you, Clooney.
No, yeah, and I mean, I think I think I just I hope that Zaslav leaves that alone, right? And I do your two choices, Ryan. Like, are they gonna Snyderverse or they're gonna reboot? For some reason, neither one of those feels correct. Like, it doesn't. I feel like they're going in a what's behind door 3 direction, and that's really kind of terrifying to me. I will say, I'm gonna double down on this from the last episode, is I just don't see them restoring shit. There's no way.
Yeah, especially with what's going on with Batgirl right now. Unless Zack Snyder is getting like the J.J. Abrams deal from Warner Brothers. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, well, especially after that report came out last week of him like using an army of chodes and bots to fucking blackmail people and trash people and all that. So I just don't see that happening.
I personally, I think that the best choice they could do, and as much as I don't want Ezra Miller again, they've got the perfect opportunity with a Flashpoint to set up a new, like universe there, and not necessarily reboot, but do sort of a shared
patch over, right?
Yeah, like kind of like what the MCU is doing now with their multiverse and stuff. You know, it's like they could do a multiverse to connect them all, or they could just do something to like basically, I don't know, bring in another Flash and be like, okay, they could shoot some new scenes and be like, okay, well, Ezra Miller Flash isn't here anymore.
Right, he got evaporated, right? They should give him a very violent, fucking horrific death, like him melting or something, and then introduce a new Flash or something. I mean, I don't know. And as much as I wanted, the Flash film to be good, my gut tells me that it's not. Those trailers those trailers look wonky as fuck. And like, I mean, it's, again, who knows? Andy Muschietti is a great guy or whatever. I love the Supergirl they chose. She's fucking kick ass, right? Like, I love all of the casting decisions, really, but it just, something about that film just looks like they shot it, I don't know, on a just on a backlot somewhere that's just not well lit or something. I don't know. Something weird's going on with that. And I imagine the pressure that was on him. And every week something new happens with Affleck or Ezra or fucking Zaslav or the Coffee Kid, and like all the fucking drama at the Warner Brothers lot. They're going to Andy Muschietti with they're going to Andy Muschietti with rewrites and shit every 3 days. Like, no, now that character's not there, I gotta cut that like, God, the guy, no, it's a wonder that guy's not in rehab somewhere,
And that's what happens when you don't have a singular voice in charge of things, because like, I mean, that's what television shows tend to have, I think, over movie series is
showrunners.
You got a showrunner, somebody that is a singular voice. You've got like thousands of people writing below them or whatever, or hundreds or dozens at least, whatever. But it's still going to be, Vince Gilligan's idea for Breaking Bad, not a a story by
Writer.
committee.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
Well, and Ryan and I, ask this question of each other just constantly, probably every 3 episodes. So I'm going to ask it of you. Why is that? I mean, why is it that Warner Brothers doesn't have a Kevin Feige? I mean, they're clearly not stupid, but they're sure acting like it, right? Like, why would it's the same thing with Star Wars? Like, Kathleen Kennedy is incredibly smart, incredibly talented, yet she gives the 3, sequels that the world has waited for 35 years to 3 separate people and tells them to do whatever they want. Why is it that this Kevin Feige-esque person is impossible to find for anybody else?
Yeah, and I mean, they have a Kevin Feige-esque person at DC, and that's Bruce Timm.
Who they pissed off by canceling no, it's Paul Dini. Sorry, I was getting those guys confused. But Paul Dini, they pissed him off by canceling Scoob.
Yeah.
So what do you think the hang up is, Michael?
I think, I mean, the main thing is you just got to find that voice. And I think the problem is that I think they, whether people like it or not, they probably had that idea with Snyder, and then tragedy hit there with during Justice League, and I think the studio just interfered too much, by bringing
and
everything.
And that's exactly what that is. You had your Toby Emmerichs, you had your Toby Emmerichs going in and saying, let's just do wacky Richard Lester shit. Like, let's have him save some random Russian family. Let's play the Superman music when Henry Cavill shows up. Like, for the Justice League v. Justice League video I was editing, that was 45 minutes and counting. Like, I had a clip of when Batfleck has that big derpy ass smile on his face when Superman shows up, and I played Ben Affleck's "Fuck You, Michael Bay" Armageddon commentary over it, and it shockingly fits.
I need my guys. Why do you need them? They're the best. Everyone's the best. Why are they the best? I don't know. They just are. He's like, Ben, just shut up, okay? This is a real plan, all right? Kind of looks like a Miller Genuine Draft commercial, but I really like those commercials.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had a gut feeling at Comic-Con that year, 2016, maybe was it, when they announced Batman v Superman, right? I think it was just called Batman v Superman, and they had the one guy who plays like, Martian Manhunter in the fucking rebooted
Harry Lennox.
Right. He came out in the dark and read Affleck's line to fucking Cavill, and I was like, what is this? Is it, as cool as that sounds, as cool as him doing it, like, none of this makes sense. And then, like, a couple months down the road, it was Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I'm like, I feel like this is a big mistake. and like, it was just clear to me that they weren't Marvel, and they were panicked that they weren't Marvel.
And they were trying too hard not to be Marvel, and that's the problem too. Like, a lot of things where they could have learned from Marvel, but chose to go in like a darker route with Snyder's ideas. I mean, I like Snyder as a filmmaker, and I mean, his Justice League is better than the one that was theatrically released, but I think he's a little overrated too, and I think they were giving the keys to somebody who wasn't stable enough to be the person in charge.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you release the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, we'd probably be having a different conversation, because a lot of key scenes from Batman v Superman were cut out of the theatrical release. Because when I saw Batman v Superman theatrically, I didn't like it. But when I saw the Ultimate Edition, at first I was like, this is okay. But then I watched it again. I'm like, okay, I see what he's doing here. And then again, it's like, I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, I never thought, personally, look, I never thought it was a bad film, right, at all. And like Michael said, personally, right, not as just as a person, like, I dug the evil Superman and Lois being fucking cooked up, and fucking, my favorite scene in the entire DCEU is the one we got between Affleck and Leto. I don't give a shit. To me, that's my favorite. So I'm here for 3 or 4 of those anti-life equation, like darkest timeline kind of Snyder things. But for the audience, that's a huge mistake because that shit's way too dark for a general audience.
Yeah.
They would
But
have
at the
lost money
same
on that.
time, you're going to have that built-in audience. You're going to have people who do want something different than Marvel.
Yeah, I agree, but you need like a good 10, 15 films before you get to the anti-life equation. What the hell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an evil Superman flying around because pregnant Lois got fucking incinerated. I mean, that's like, you know, I could see them doing it, sure, but look how many films it took to get to Endgame and Infinity War, Multiverse of Madness. I mean, that's 20, 25 films, right? They wanted to do that shit in 6.
They rushed the Justice League way too fast. It was just like, you know,
Totally.
you didn't build up the other characters enough.
And there was misplaced marketing. I mean, remember like early marketing, it was like posters out there that said unite the 7. Everyone's like, wait, is that so the 7 members? Maybe okay, so Green Lantern, and then people are like, no, unite the 7 is the 7 kingdoms, you know, Atlantis, and like nobody knew what the fuck that meant. And then they just completely abandoned that and switched to it was like a case of too many cooks in the kitchen, I think.
They were just talking about the 7 the boys. No, I'm joking. No, it's like
right.
All right. I think we rambled on way too long enough. Okay,
Yes.
Michael, where can people find you?
You can go to cullenpark.com. Also, all2real2.com. Those are the 2 best places to find me and my stuff.
All righty. Great talk with you both. Be sure to go check out the All Too Real 2 podcast. Very good podcast. And while we're on that topic, be sure to like, comment, share, spread the word of New Realms Media. Follow me on all my socials at New Realms Media. And until then, we'll see you next time.